Hey everyone, it's Melanie of Art Studio 320 and it's Monday. Today's video is about a dresser that I believe is an MCM or mid-century modern. It is stamped with United Furniture Corporation, and yes, I had to look it up. And it's a big company. They've been around a long time. It was a side of the road find and it's really super cool. And I want to be sure that I create something that is worthy of its coolness. I'm a little nervous because, I mean, come on, these were designed by an artist. It is a challenge to take something that's already cool and make it cooler. So follow me on this journey. This should be an interesting one. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you push that red button, and you can follow me on Instagram. The link for that will be in the description box below, along with all of the materials I'm using today. So check that out. All right, let's get to work. As always, we need to take off the hardware first before we can do anything else. You notice I have a little Ziploc bag that I put my hardware in because I have so many different kinds now. And then I need to clean it off. I'm using vinegar and water this week. That's the most basic thing, and it's cheap and it works really well. I was looking at the drawers while I was cleaning them, and there is a layer. This is wood, and this is also wood. It's a veneer. I think I'm going to try and remove the veneer. If I can remove what I think is veneer on this, then maybe I could remove the veneer on the top. Maybe. I'm a little scared because I don't want to wreck it, but I'm pretty sure this is a separate piece. I guess I have to think some more. I'm using an 80 grit sandpaper, and I thought this was going to be tough, and I thought that this veneer was going to give me trouble, but it sanded off so easily. I was shocked, and what was underneath was a beautiful mahogany veneer. So I didn't need to strip anything. I just had to work with beautiful wood. I'm using plastic Wood X to fill the holes from the hardware on the two top drawers. I sanded all of the drawers just in case I wanted to stain them. But even if I didn't, I wanted to paint them on the wood grain so that the wood grain would show through. Sanding the curved drawers was a challenge. I had to be very light with a sander. I'm using Dixie Belle's Dixie Mud here as wood filler to fill the holes on the bottom three drawers. The reason I used a different wood filler on the top was because I thought maybe I would stain the top two drawers, but I ended up painting all of them. You might notice some sawdust spitting out of my orbital sander right about now. That means it's time to empty it. I had a few spots that I needed to kind of scrape off the top so that they wouldn't get stuck on my sandpaper on the orbital sander, but that was no big deal. And then it was smooth sailing. It was very easy to sand. It just took some time. Again, with the curves, very difficult to do with the orbital sander, but you just have to kind of tilt it with the curves. I wasn't perfect, but I got the hang of it. You'll see me sand off a lot of small areas that I wanted to leave the raw wood, so I had some nice contrast with the paint. Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, and I am back from vacation. Just went up north and spent some time. We were just staying on our friend's property. They have a beautiful lake house, and it was a lot of fun. Did a lot of boating and kayaking, yada, yada, yada. So now it's time to get back to work. And last night I just did a little bit. You didn't miss anything. I was just sanding off some of the wood filler. I filled in the holes where the hardware was, and I have a little bit more sanding to do because I had to redo some of the filler just to make sure that it was nice and flat. So I'm going to do that. So I made this little swatch board. Right here we have the color Algonquin by Fusion. The next one is Santeria by Melange, Santeria Red. And the next one is Mink Brown. That's right here. The next one is Maduro Brown by Melange. That's obviously right there. And then the Santeria Red again here. I like to do things two-tone. I am going to leave some of the wood. It's a veneer, but it's beautiful wood, and I think I may just leave it raw. What I think I've decided to do is Santeria Red, either the Algonquin or the Mink Brown. Now, they look very, very similar. The Algonquin has a little bit more yellow in it, which works well with red. But I have some sanding to do on the sides just to prep it for paint. I think I might want to leave this little section raw wood and paint the top. So I got some decisions to make. That's what it's all about. So we gotta get to work. Found myself going back and forth from the block sanders to the orbital sander just because it just depended on where I was and how my hand was feeling. When you're sanding the wood filler, you really have to go slow, otherwise you end up making a divot and having to refill it. How do I know? I don't know. So the last thing I want to do after I'm sanding everything off is make it nice and smooth with a 120 grit and then a 220 or a 240. That way your surface is as smooth as can be. Here is the Santeria Red by Melange and my Zibra fan brush. Look how smooth and silky that is. I just thought it was cool to do a slow motion because it's so dramatic. That color really is absolutely beautiful. And I am really liking Melange paint. It's very easy to work with. I ended up putting 3 coats of the Santeria Red on the 3 bottom drawers, and on the 2 top drawers I used Algonquin, and I only needed 2 coats with that. I really like Fusion mineral paint as well. They both have different things that I like about them, and I'm sure I'll keep using both. Just using my sanding block to touch up some areas, and then on the raw wood I'm using again the 120 grit, and then I'm switching to 240. I just happened to catch a video from Kacha, Kacha, and she used a little bit of citrus strip on just the feet of her desk, I believe it was. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. Just spot strip if you need to. And in the spots that I can't get to on this piece, it worked really well. And then you have to clean it off with mineral spirits to stop the chemical reaction. You'll notice I have some painter's tape, and I just put that on all the spots that were raw wood, depending on what I was painting. There was one spot that I forgot to sand, so I put tape over the painted area, hoping that that would help not sand off the paint, and it worked for the most part. Now I needed to tape off all the areas that I didn't want to get the stain on. It's a natural stain, but I still didn't want the oil on any area that I wasn't staining. You can really see the red in this mahogany wood. How beautiful is that? All right, it is Wednesday evening and I am getting close to finishing. I do have the base to finish, and I put some quick wood on it along with some wood filler. Plastic Wood X worked better. That quick wood, it's the same stuff I used before, and it just hardens too quick and it's not getting all the way dry. It's very weird. The rest is painted and stained, and I just have to polyurethane and put the hardware on. Wow. I did a lot today. I'm really happy with it. I hope you guys like it. I think this color is very mid-century modern. It's the wood. That's the natural color of the wood. I tinted with what's called light walnut, and so that I only used a little and it matched the wood exactly. I had the natural stain, which isn't any pigment at all, and I mixed it in here with just a little bit of the pigmented stain because there were some spots that the paint was in the grain. I think it looks great. I don't think you would ever notice unless somebody pointed it out to you. I am going to say goodnight, and we just have to put the hardware on, the polyurethane, and paint the base, and we are done. See you tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. It is 8:30 on a Thursday morning, and I have the dresser up on the table, and I've started to do some repairs on the base. Now, the base is pretty torn up. I took the veneer off that was kind of flapping in the wind, and then just sanded down as much as I could. I did put some wood filler on it yesterday, and now I sanded that down, and now I've put some more on. So once that dries, then I can sand that down and paint it, and really it actually wasn't nearly as much work as I thought it was going to be. It was just like 5 minutes, if that, to just sand down. It was just pretty mangled. I mean, it's particle board. I certainly want it to look nice and the whole piece to look professionally done, of course. So that's what I have left to do, just put on the hardware and wax the piece. And I'm going to polyurethane with an extra flat on the parts that I stained. Just be sure when you're using an oil-based stain and a water-based polyurethane, you let that stain dry thoroughly, and then you can put the water-based polyurethane over the top. I've never had a problem. You just want to make sure your piece is dry. That's it. So I'm going to wax the drawers and the body of the sides, and then any place that I stain, I'm going to put the extra flat poly. I decided to go with two kinds of hardware. I wanted to put smaller hardware on the top, and then drop poles on the bottom. Now, a drop pole is something that dangles. It drops, and you use this to pull. That's really all it is. I thought these were gold, but it's fine because I was gonna paint them anyway. All right, I started with this, which is, what's it say? Gold, vintage gold. Trying to read backwards. So I started with this. You can see it's very yellowy gold. And then, so I spray painted this side with the vintage gold, and it was very yellowy. It still kind of is. And then I put a layer of the champagne mist. I really love this color. Just so you know, you can't get this color at Home Depot. You got to get it at Menards. My husband was explaining this to me, that even though it's the same product, they have different lines for different stores. So if you can't find it at Home Depot, try another store like Lowe's or Menards. I don't know if you have Menards where you live, but anyway, so what I did is I sprayed the champagne mist over it, and I don't know if you can see. This is the piece I have for the top drawers. They're pretty close, so I probably will just stick with that. All right, let's get to work. In my defense, I spend a lot of time alone in the garage, so if I'm a little weird, that's why. This part of the video reminds me of the finale, because coming up I'm doing a whole bunch of different things. I'm using Mama's Big Butter from Dixie Belle to make the drawers smell nice and condition them. I'm using a finishing pad to sand and make everything nice and smooth before I wax it or put polyurethane on it. Now this is the base, and I'm sanding that very lightly before I paint. It's hard to believe, but I am measuring the holes to drill for the hardware, which always means that the video is almost over. I love these cute little cone-shaped knobs for the top two drawers. And I really got lucky with making the holes because it was pretty easy to measure. And then on the bottom part where the drop holes are, you just have to make sure that when you measure them, you account for the part that drops down. So you want to make sure that you put everything on the drawer before you drill any holes, so you know exactly where they're going to be when you screw them in. Really important. Measure twice, cut once, drill once. One more note, I noticed when I put the drawers in that I could see the tops of the drawers, and I intentionally left them unpainted, but they didn't look right when I put the drawers in, so I ended up painting them. Now I'm putting the Minwax Polycrylic on. It's an extra flat, so you really can't see it, which means you really can't see any imperfections. When it's shiny, you can see everything. Just keep that in mind. Well, friends, that is all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am so happy with the results of this dresser. I mean, I really fretted about this piece because I just thought for sure that it was going to cause me problems, and I just wanted to be sure to do it justice because it's such a cool piece, and I really wanted to be proud of it, and I am. So I think the colors worked really well and the hardware turned out great. So yeah, I'm gonna call this one a win for sure. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for being here. See you next time.
These skies have a different light, white noise that keeps me up at night.